Jerry Duggan and CF Villa pit the X-Men against the Sun as some aliens from Game World threaten to blow up the star and obliterate all life on Earth. Jerry Duggan continues the X-Men's role in Judgement Day with an issue that ties us back to the Game World stuff he played around with before the event took over, giving the mutants a chance to prove themselves not just into the eyes of the progenitor Celestial, but also the eyes of the public, who as per usual are rallying against the mutants since it's easy to hate them. Duggan again uses the team's powers to great effect, especially when teaming them up or combining their powers together, as showcased by Iceman and Firestar's powerful mutant abilities and what happens when you combine fire and ice in the upper atmosphere. While the mutants saving Earth from the Sun's wrath was the bulk of the story, Duggan bookended it with an interesting story beat about a reporter who had interviewed Iceman after he saved the world, and her sticking to her guns in regards to Iceman's coming out story and him giving the reporter the opportunity to tell his story about him coming out, which I thought was quite cool. And it was cool seeing humans sticking up for him against other small-minded humans and allowing his story to be told in a truthful way as well as on his own terms. CF Villa returns for some more fantastic artwork that has a bit of an anime lean to it, especially in the character faces. You know, they have some pretty big eyes and the way the characters move feels very much like an action anime. And of course the action is over the top like an anime, which makes great use of Iceman's powers on a visual level, giving us grand icebergs in space as well as really cool visuals with him and Firestar combining their powers to make a rainbow in the Earth sky, which I thought was really quite cool. X-Men issue 14 was a fantastic issue focusing on Iceman, giving him some much needed character development as well as a big step in his life, while also dealing with the current Judgment Day threat as well as some past threats, all of which Jerry Duggan and his team tie together pretty perfectly. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. X-Men issue 14 finds a reporter told by her editor to lose the gay angle on the Iceman Saves the World story she's been writing, since it doesn't really matter to the story as there was a big threat from the sun, people were at risk and the crisis was averted. That's it. Earlier that day, a group of Nova helmeted wearing gamblers from Game World fire a missile into Earth's sun, hoping it will blow up and take the Earth with it. They wonder what the latest odds for Earth are at Game World as Cyclops and Magic teleport onto the ship, reminding them that Game World is out of business. Magic demands that he tell her what they shot into the sun, but the goons attack, thinking they outnumber the X-Men, and with the Nova helmets they have, they stand a chance. Cyclops fires his concussive blast at their helmets, ricocheting it around the ship and blowing the helmets off their heads. The aliens see why the odds on Earth are so tempting now, as Magic compliments Scott on his shooting, but Scott knows that when you grow up fighting Magneto, shooting metal helmets off someone's head is really handy. Cyclops demands to know what they put into the sun, so the aliens reveal it was a flare generator to bathe Terra in fire. Sun begins undergoing coronal mass ejection as Jean tells Bishop more Eternals are heading for Krakoa's south shore, and they have wounded there that need help. She hears Scott's call about the sun as Iceman is called up to help. Bobby arrives and is told of the extinction level event from the sun, having the entire rundown downloaded into his mind by Jean as she lifts him high into orbit, where Iceman begins erecting a giant ice shield around the Earth, but in doing so he'll create another hazard with all of the ice, which will soon fall to Earth. He tells Jean to get Forge thinking of a solution as Firestar is told by Jean that she needs to go and help Bobby. Angelica spots Bobby's shield expanding, asking if it's going to stay in orbit, but Jean knows that it will stay there long enough to become Earth's airbag, but when the sky begins to fall, it's on her to melt the ice before it hits Earth. Firestar heads to Chicago, taking off into the skies as Forge contacts Iceman, telling him that he's been crunching the numbers on how thick the ice should be, wanting Jean to upload the number into Bobby's mind, reminding him that the storm is going to be hell for anyone in orbit. Iceman begins feeling gravity pulling him down as he sees the International Space Station, asking what the plan is for the people on board. Magic chimes in, opening a portal in the station and telling the astronauts to get aboard the ship they're on as Iceman finishes making his ice shield, learning Magic and Cyclops got the astronauts home safely to Chicago. Scott asks what they can do for Bobby, but the mutant tells him just to hope for the best, since he's made contact with the flare. The mass coronal ejection hits his shield, obliterating it in a bright display above Chicago. Jean knows that more is on the way as Firestar begins melting the huge icebergs that fall down towards Earth. Angelica doesn't think she can catch them all as Jean tells her that Sync and Rogue are on the way with her powers to lend a hand. Iceman meanwhile confronts the rest of the sun's plasma, holding it back briefly, but is soon knocked into Earth's gravity, knowing if his friends look up, they'll see a very handsome angel falling towards Earth. Firestar meets with Iceman, high-fiving her partner as they combine their powers to make a bright rainbow above Chicago. Bobby hopes everyone appreciates that they saved the day in style as they return to the ground. A journalist comes up to ask Bobby a few questions, but Bobby can't say anything, saying he'll give her the time it takes him to walk through the gateway to ask her question, since he needs to go back and fight the Eternals. Bobby soon notices that the portal is surrounded by mutant haters, deciding he's going to stay and tell them something, as in the present. The reporter tells her editor that he can print the interviews as is or she'll withdraw it, since Iceman saved most of the planet and the least they can do is not erase his existence, since he did what he did because it's what he does, and she is telling his truth because that's what she does, and she will not erase his truth to coddle the small-minded. The editor agrees to keep it as is, wishing he could remember back when exactly it was they all became so judgmental. In the Arctic, Cyclops confronts the progenitor Celestial, not wanting the Celestial to think that he had forgotten about him. The progenitor goes to judge Cyclops, and Cyclops knows he will be judged, but he doesn't recognize his authority, requesting a change of venue. The Celestial stops, so Scott says that the only person alive who can judge him is Jean Grey, and if he wants to meet her, he can set up a meeting between them, and maybe he would take the scolding from his teammates on the X-Men. After a moment, progenitor judges Cyclops as good as Scott leaves, knowing that if he keeps his thumbs up, they won't have to meet again.